beautifuls. Hey. Welcome to tonight's viewing of A Beautiful Life. I am your host, Katrina Henderson, the owner and creator for Unbreakable Memories, where we are creating beautiful lives. Welcome to being back with me again tonight. If you joined me this morning when I went through the Unleash Your Beautiful series, and we talked about um, overthinking and how it is a silent dream killer. So, tonight I want to continue the conversation from last week where we were talking about boundaries, right? And creating those boundaries for us in our personal care and our self care, just overall, and creating boundaries for us. So, that tonight we're talking self worth and the relationships and how we can build healthy connections. I went to an amazing event on this weekend, Dreams on the Beach 2.0, with my friend, hosted by my friend Yolanda Brunson, who created a true atmosphere of sisterhood. And Hello, My Name is Beautiful was shared. And so tonight I am kind of piggybacking off of that because it really had me thinking about what sisterhood meant in relation to just what I thought it was, how I viewed it, how it's changed for me over the years. So I wanted to continue the conversation, and I should have had her on here with me. So Yolanda, when you catch this, I may be reaching out to you so we can do this as a part two. But first thing, when it comes to building a healthy self esteem, a healthy relationship with anything, is really just looking at your own self image, right? It's looking at who you are and understanding who you have been created to be, and believing in that. Hey, beautifuls. It's taking a look at your self image and just making sure that you have a positive self image about yourself. You cannot be authentically um, anyone else other than you, right? You can't be somebody else, right? The comparison trap. You can't be anybody else. You may be able to do the same things as someone else. You may be able to, walk, try and emulate them, but it's not going to be the same because you are you and that person is that person. So to build a healthy relationship, you definitely have to start with who you are. So who are you when you peel back the layers? Who are you when you let the true, authentic person come out? That's the first step, right? We have to know who we are in order to really build a healthy relationship. Because if we don't know who we are, then the world never gets to experience the true us. So it's really important to understand our self worth, right? Looking at the belief that we have in ourselves and really owning that. Like, own your beautiful and understand what it means to be beautiful. Like, what does being beautiful mean to you, right? Own that. If you say being beautiful is making sure that you're confident and feeling worthy, and that you are giving yourself the self-love and the self-care, own that, right? I have a t-shirt that says owning my beautiful. Own what it is that you deem beautiful about yourself, the outward, but more importantly the inward part, because that's when you can create the respect, the love, the deservingness, the worthiness of who you are, right? And then that allows you to look within for your own validation. You don't have to look for anyone else to validate you, because you know who you are. You know who you've been created to be. And this has an impact on our relationships, right? Because, as I mentioned earlier, if we don't know who we are, how is anyone else going to know us, right? How will someone else get to know the true us if we've never shared that, if we've never allowed them to experience who we are when we take the mask off, right? Who we are when we release the insecurities, who we are when we release the limiting beliefs. Who are you, right? That's the thing that we have to hold on to. because that does impact our relationships. If you never get to allow me to see the real you, then can we really have a sisterhood? Or are we just acquaintances? Right? Are we just, bystanders in the street? Like, if I don't get to experience all the beauty that you have inside, then we aren't building a healthy connection. Another way, this is where we talked about last week, was in order to build a healthy connection, we've got to put those boundaries back in place, right? If you missed the live from that week, from last week, it's on here. You can go back and look at it, because we talked about the different boundaries. But in order to have a healthy connection with someone, you have to have a boundary in place, right? You have to be able to make it healthy enough so that it's mutually beneficial to both of you. Like, there's not always one person just giving more. There's not one person that's always receiving. Like, you truly are giving and taking, right? Because that's what creates the relationship. There's Oh, the dog is whining. Sorry, y'all. But that's how you build a healthy relationship. You understand that there's going to be give and take. You understand that I'm going to lean on you and you lean on me, that you are going to grab me by the collar and yoke me up if I need to. Like, that's what building a healthy relationship is to me. That's what building a true sisterhood is that love me through the good and when I need correction, right? It's understanding that you can be open with me and stern with me, that if I need to be corrected, that we have a bond where you can make the correction and I can't take offense to it. Now, I may get in my feelings for a second, but just know that that's just for a moment. Once I've had time to process, once I've had time to really sit and think about it, I understand and can receive the feedback that I need to receive. So that's what sisterhood means to me. But you can't do that unless you've created the healthy boundary. Part of us creating a healthy relationship and really looking at the healthy connections is we've got to be able to look for red flags. You know them, right? You know those things that, oh, that's a no for me. Like the thing that zaps your energy. What's your red flag? What's your red flag when you are in a relationship? For me, it's not telling the truth, right? It's not being open and honest with me. If you can't talk to me and really t- tell the truth, then I can't be in a relationship with you. Listen, I've been there, I've done that, I know how it is. But if you can't communicate with me, if you can't tell me how you're feeling without worrying about how I'm going to receive it, then do we really have a relationship? I'm not going to know what I need to correct. I'm not going to know what I need to fix. I'm not going to know what to celebrate if you're not willing to communicate. So look for red flags. What's your red flag when it comes to a relationship? You've got to be able to identify and explain the red flags so that you can say, hey, flag on a play. This isn't working for me. This may be where I have to put up a boundary because, hey, it's not working. Whatever it is, look for those red flags. The biggest piece with us creating healthy relationships is being able to communicate, just like I mentioned, right? If we can't figure out how to communicate to one another in the way that we need to communicate, right? There's that book, The Five Love Languages. So I take a lot of that from in perspective when communicating, because I understand that the way I love isn't the way that someone else is. Well, it's the same way with communication. The way I communicate is not going to be the same as my husband communicates. He's very vocal. He's he has the gift of gab. I'm always teasing him. So the way he tells a story, right, isn't going to be the same way that I tell the story. He's gonna have all the color narrative associated with it. Like, he's gonna paint a true picture of what the scenario is. Me, I'm just gonna get straight to the point because that's how I am. But I understand that that works for us because we figured it out, right? We figured out how we are supposed to communicate with each other. So that's the only way you can build a healthy relationship, is figuring out what is each person's communication style, and being open to listen, right? Don't just communicate just to be talking. Communicate, but also listen in the process, because it's when we are going back to what we talked about this morning, always overthinking, right? We are looking for, well, if I say this, then they're going to say that. And then if I say this, then they're going to say that. And you're not even listening to what the person's saying. So when you listen, listen for understanding. And sometimes what you may have to say when someone is really communicating something to you, especially if it's something heavy, is, let me just make sure this is what you say. Let me just make sure I'm correct. This is what I'm hearing you say. Is that right? Because they're talking and talking and talking and may not have necessarily realized that now they've confused you in the process, right? But if you don't ask that question, hey, is this what I'm hearing you say? Then you go on thinking it's one way, and then you come out and say something, and, well, that's not what I meant, right? How many times have we had that? How many times have we been in a conversation with someone and it went completely left because you're thinking you heard one thing, so you say it one way, but they didn't receive it that way. So it's important when you are creating the healthy communication, the healthy relationships, that you've learned how to communicate. But remember, communicating isn't just talking, it's also listening, because you're listening to be able to understand rather than just listening to be able to respond. Um, I'm looking at my notes just to make sure. Okay. So the next one to talk about when we are building a healthy relationship or connection is that we have to be able to nurture respectful connections, right? We have to have a respect for one another. So going back to the communication, say it with love, say it up, say what you need to say, mean what you need to say, but say it in love, say it in respect. Because when you are, now this is me, when someone is talking at me and not talking to me, I'm more likely to get defensive, right? So if you are having to give me feedback for something, figure out how to communicate that to me that's not going to send me in shutdown mode, right? Like, don't sugarcoat it, right? Because I need the feedback. I need to understand what it is that I need to correct, but say it in a way so that I won't get defensive, right? I'm saying that, but at the same time, you also have to be mindful of, sometimes you just can't say it. You just got to get it out and like deal with it. But you know what I mean when I say that, is that figure out how you can communicate, say what you need to say, but also be respectful. And again, because again, you're communicating to be able to build the bond, to be able to increase the relationship. And so figure out what that looks like for you. Okay, here's the big thing for me, and it was a hard thing for me, and it still is a hard thing for me. We can't build relationships unless we embrace vulnerability. You can't come to me or be in a relationship with me if I'm not comfortable enough to share the inner parts of me, right? I have to be able to trust you. I have to be able to say, well, okay, if I'm coming to you and I need some advice, or I just need somebody to talk to, that I have a safe space to be able to go to. You all know it. You all have those friends. You can't go to everybody, and you know that. That's what this is, right? This is talking about having those sisters, those beautifuls, that friendship where you know, if I call on them, that I'm safe, that I can be as vulnerable as I need to, because that self worth that I feel that I've communicated with you on allows me to really just be like, right? We all know it. Like, we're in a safe space. We know, you know how it is when you're talking with somebody and you just know you have a safe space with someone. That's how you build a healthy relationship, right? Because you can express your feelings, you can be authentically you without fear of judgment, without fear of criticism, without fear of someone saying you crazy, right? Because they're just listening. They're a listening ear. Like my friends know me. Y'all get 5 minutes with me in a pity party, right? You can don't call me if you need more than 5 minutes for a pity party because I'm not going to be the one. I'm going to listen, but then I'm also going to say, okay, well, how can we shift what you're feeling? How can we get you to see this differently? How can we get you to see, even in this, they're still beautiful, right? That's the healthy relationship. That's being able to be vulnerable with someone, right? But also being mindful that you've built that relationship with them. So, building a healthy relationship is a very empowering choice, right? It gives you the feeling of empowerment, right? Because you are maybe finding someone that aligns with your values, right? You've got a core group of friends that you all have some type of system of values. And majority of the time, most of them, somewhere along the line, their values align with your values in one way or another, right? May not be all of them, but there may be some of them because we know if you can't just hang out with somebody that is wild and free and you're not wild and free, right? If you love to be outdoors, but this person is a homebody, that may not necessarily work for you, right? Unless you are willing to compromise and understand, okay, today I'm not going to be wild and free. I'm going to be indoor, whatever it is. But you have a choice, right? When you're building a relationship with someone, you have a choice. Either accept them as they are, just as they are, or accept them that although, right? I'm saying this in the perspective of we know let's say we'll go back to relationships when you're dating and you see some qualities in your mate that may not necessarily be the best things, right? So there's, hey, beautiful, how are you? So there are some flaws that you see. And so you're like, okay, well, maybe if I stick this out a little bit longer, I can change him, right? How many of us we've been there, right? We've gotten in relationships and we think, oh, I can change them. But we all know we really can't change anybody, right? But ourselves. So when you're in a relationship and you're looking at the choices, you either have the choice to let go of saying, I'm going to change them, right? Because we can't change them. So you can just like, okay, this isn't working out for me. Or can you overlook the thing that you want to change because you understand that that just makes up who they are, right? That's just a part of who they have been created to be. And you are going to accept that, acknowledge that, and let them be the person that they are, regardless of whether you completely understand that flaw. Listen, when it comes to us building a healthy relationship and looking at the boundaries we have in place, we all have to remember that our self care is very important. You can't be in a relationship with someone and they are dragging you emotionally, spiritually, right? Mentally through the ringer. If they can't understand that sometimes you cannot be the go to all the time, then you've got to end that relationship because energy is everything, right? You can't allow them to take from you more than what you have to give. They have to be able to understand, going back to boundaries, going back to self care, that today, listen, I know you called me. I know you need some advice, but today I can't be there for you 100% because I am tired. I'm drained. Like, be open enough to have that conversation with them and understand that today I'm not going to be able to hear or receive what it is that you need to receive because today I need to be there for me. That's how you set the boundary, right? That's how you reinforce your need for self care. Because when you can do that, right, when you can be open and honest, then the growth in your relationship takes place. You evolve, it evolves into a support system, and you can be free to be you and be you authentically you, right? So when it comes to entering in relationships, whether it's with a spouse, friends, sisters, aunts, uncle, whatever relationship it is, sometimes, listen, it's your relationship with money, but that's a whole different topic, right? That would be a good topic, actually, is our relationship with money. But go back and realize you can't be in a relationship with anyone until you have really defined who it is that you are and can walk that thing out, regardless of what it feels like, regardless of what it looks like. Because if you can't be authentically you, if you can't allow your beautiful to shine in the light and in the dark, then you're not building a healthy relationship. You can't just be in a relationship and always want the good. You have to be able to take the good that comes, the bad that comes with it, right? It's not always, unicorns and stars and things like that. Sometimes it's the dirty buckets and it's porn season. But when you've created a healthy relationship, you understand that. You know that it's not going to always be good, that we're not always going to agree, that we can disagree to agree and be okay with that, right? It's two sides to everything, it's two sides to every story. So tonight, sit back as you get ready to, lay down, process for the evening, shut down for the evening. Look at some of the relationships that you're in and really determine whether that relationship allows you to truly be you, whether you have whether you've created a healthy boundary. And if you haven't, is it time to let that relationship go? So, this is tonight's edition of A Beautiful Life. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate you. I love you. We are back again, 7 a.m. in the morning for the Unleash Your Beautiful series. Have a great, beautiful evening. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.